All right. Welcome back to Bring the Juice. Energy is high, piss is hot, fired up. Today, an elite guest, Lorenzo Neal on the pod.
First we gonna rock, then we gonna fold, then we let it pop, don't let it go.
Lo, thanks for coming out.
Anything for you, buddy. You know, let's make it happen.
Let's make it happen. We get things done around here. I love, Lo got here a little early, which I love, and got a little pumping, man.
You know, brother, we looked at it. I was like, you know what? We're in here talking. I was like, man, let's hit the weight room. You were telling me because you were telling me about, man, I can't believe you get up at friggin' 1:45.
And man, it's onion harvest, baby.
Dude, onion harvest. You are friggin' a stud. And I was like, you're like, man, I feel tired. I don't want to work out. I said, let's go get it. And
you have to.
But you were friggin' killing it out there in the weight room and being up that early. No nap in today.
No nap.
You're amazing.
Little AC, little water.
Amazing. AC pumping though. I like it. AC feels good.
Needed to be
feels
pumping.
Good in
You know
here.
what? My wife be saying, the bill at the end of the month. If there's things to spend money on in this world, it is a little bit of comfort in my home.
Absolutely. You're in the Central Valley. Friggin', you know how hot it gets.
It's
here.
hot.
It gets butt hot. So you got to have the AC. And if you can't have an AC,
I want it to be cool. And I had a coach in my time when I was training out in Utah who was really invested in like his bed. He kept saying like, hey, if anybody wants, I'm bringing in 4 new mattresses. He went through all these different mattress companies. Just an interesting perspective to start the show off. Like, I got my mattress from Costco because Costco's got everything. It's a great mattress. It's reasonably priced. But he's like, dude, there's so many mattresses out there these days.
There is.
Why would you not invest in the mattress? You're in your bed, like what, a third of your life?
Yeah.
Something like that.
Yeah.
You're not going to invest in that one thing. You're in a third of your life that determines if you sleep well, you perform better in everything else that you do.
No question.
God.
No question.
Control the controllable.
Absolutely. I go mattress firm, you know.
Yeah.
You know, raise the bed up, raise the temperature, do what you want. You know, snore a little bit, just up, move it up. So you got to have a good mattress. I'm with you.
Yeah.
I'm with you there.
Lorenzo, 16 years in the league. Your resume is absolutely beautiful. One thing we have in common is playing for the Dogs. Was it always the Dogs? Tell me about your journey that got you to Fresno State.
Well, I'll tell you right now, looking at these jerseys, man, you were the man. I mean, you're talking about these jerseys, how sick they are. Our jerseys were ugly. We didn't have these type of. I'm jealous. You guys got the nice fitted jerseys. I mean, looking at your.
You keep looking at the black one.
Yeah,
the black one.
You got it. That black is
the
sick.
all blacks are crispy.
Oh my
crispy.
God. And you were telling the story about, man, you put on that
the
all
swag.
Black, the swag. You put it on for the first time. You're like, damn, I'm going to play a game in that all black. I mean, dude, you got to feel like Superman in that all black.
You know how it is when you get ready for a game. You're starting to feel some type of
question. Oh my! When I was with the Ravens, when we played that, put that black on, Ed Reed, Ray Lewis, dude, teams of what, dude? That's
an intimidating all
no
black.
question.
Yeah.
That black is intimidating.
Yeah.
So give me the black. Fresno, man, it's crazy, man. Now Fresno State, man, has just been a beacon. When you think about so many guys that came to Fresno State from the Central Valley. I'm right down the street, Lemoore, California. Grew up, went to Lemoore High School, and go to Fresno State. And Coach Jim Sweeney, Tefford was believe it or not, my OC. So I had Tefford. Teddy's been there forever, and just to be able to play at Fresno State. I remember watching Kelly Skipper when I was growing up, Stephen Baker, the touchdown maker. So you're a Fresno guy, and you're like, man, I'm getting ready to go play in that stadium, Kevin Sweeney, and watch these Dogs and hear so many great stories about Sweeney. So, man, it was Arizona, it was Oklahoma. I remember taking some recruiting trips. I remember going to Oklahoma, and Barry Switzer. He puts me in his chair, takes me up to his booth, and you sit here in this, it's their box, and it's overlooking the stadium. And I was thinking about the University of Arizona too. And Barry Switzer, he says, look, I said, Coach, I'll think about coming here because, I could wrestle too. Stan Abels was the wrestling coach. So they were going to let me do both sports. And I remember Switcher, I was like, man, you guys just going on probation. I don't know if I want to come because probation on probation. He goes, where are you thinking about going, son? I said, thinking about the U of A. And he goes, they're on probation too. I said, what do you mean? He goes, when's the last time they've been to a bowl game?
Shit.
I mean, that's how Switzer was that gangster.
Yeah.
That Barry Switzer put the mink coat around me. Like, he's talking so much junk. He's like, what's right? Red and white. What's a young man's dream to wear that Clemson and cream? I mean, just being at those places. Oh, I mean, the guy he could sell ice to an Eskimo. And so having those road trips, man, and believe it or not, that road trip, they hooked me up. You go on your little road trip.
Little recruiting visit.
Little recruiting visit.
Yeah.
It was young lady named Amy. I still think I love her.
Yeah,
I'm just dropping it. So they hooked.
Hey.
I was like, damn, I think I want to come to Oklahoma.
Right?
I mean, it was like, it was pretty good. So
Okay.
we went to Bible study together. So
Yeah,
that's all.
yeah.
That was it. So keep your mind out of the gutter.
Everyone likes a good Bible study session. I get it.
Those are those stories, man. I know that was one of those moments.
Well, it's part of the full experience.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
But ultimately, it led you to the dogs.
Yeah. And then the dogs. My dad wanted me to wrestle too, and Jim Sweeney was going to allow me to wrestle. Dennis DeLito, great guy, great man too, was wrestling coach, and being able to do both sports was one of those things, and being able to see when it came down to it, also just saying, okay, because I could have went to other places, but be closer to home, to watch your parents, to have your parents be able to experience that, your brothers and sisters, and everyone in the valley.
Yeah.
I mean, to go to another school, they would have still remembered me at another school if I went to Oklahoma or different places. But when you go to Fresno and you're from the valley, you have any people from Lemoore would come up to a game. Lemoore High School, I'd go there.
Yep.
People from Fresno. I wanted to stay to California in wrestling. So, when you have that valley connection,
Yes.
and
It hits different.
It's totally different. It's totally different.
I've said that to so many young guys, especially like in this Bring the Juice journey and having younger brothers in the game right now who they go to different schools and whatnot. And that's no knock to going to different school.
No.
Absolutely not. Everyone has their own path, journey, and whatnot. But it is true. This sucks. And like I think of, like Kendall Milton, right? Valley guy, went to Buchanan, love Kendall, gonna get his shot in the league, won 2 natties at Georgia. I know he won his bowl game MVP. There's a lot of running backs that have gone through Georgia, right? There's a big list of dudes. Not saying he's a small fish in a big pond necessarily, and that if he would have came to Fresno State, he might have been remembered more. But I do think there is a little bit of truth of you look at a guy like Jalen Cropper who decided to stay home, and he had a decorative career at Fresno State. He's now, working out with the Dallas Cowboys. He has a more presence still locally, and he's a Sanger guy who got to have his family come and watch him and whatnot. Shit, my whole family thought the same thing. Like, hey, let's stay at home and play for the dogs. My brother, I was a walk-on, but my brother Mac had different opportunities to play multiple different places. He was going on recruiting visits all over the place. And ultimately, nobody wanted to recruit him because they were like, we know you're going to end up playing for Fresno State. Your brother's there. We see the passion that your family has for it. We know that there's a value to being a local guy that stays there. And I don't think anybody that is from the Valley that decided to come stay and play at Fresno State regrets it.
No. 1,000%. And you look at Kendall and you say, man, Kendall's had a great career. It's going to get in the league,
career,
like you're saying. But the difference is, like you said, if he comes to Fresno, now they're saying, wow, who is the best running back? Is it Kendall, Rivers, Lorenzo? So you put yourself in a sphere, and now when you're home, people know you, you recognize you, those things. And not that people don't know, no. It's different when you're homegrown. This kid went to Buchanan, had a hell of a career, in high school career, and you stay local. It's just a different presence. And that's what it's perception versus reality. Because perception is you got to go to a big school to get drafted. Reality is you don't.
No.
I think now with this, what they're doing with college kids and high school kids, paying them, I think that's the biggest setback that you're going to see in college football and so many sports in high school. I think you're going to water down the game, and it's going to hurt. I understand the kids should be compensated. I look at a guy, you look at a guy, the quarterback, Tim Tebow.
Sure.
Guy sold 10 million jerseys, 5 million jerseys. Guys like that, not going to play in the pros. But if you just gave that kid $2 a jersey, it'd make, $20 million.
It's a good head start of life.
It's a good head, and that's what I think that there's got to be something, but you got to reel this thing back in. It's the Wild Wild West right now.
It is.
And you're going to continue to hurt brands. Yeah. You're going to hurt these schools. You're hurting these kids. I understand. You got to realize it's a reason why you can't drink till you're 21. It's a reason why you can't vote until you're a certain age. It's a reason why you don't, because when you're a kid and you've just given all this money and these things, you don't know how to finance it. You don't know how to balance a checkbook. You don't know the ins and outs. So the nuances of what life is about. So when you give a kid, what does he have to look forward to? Yeah. That's why I think when you're doing this, and now at high school and college level, what is that going to do? What is their reality? Now it's like if they don't have to be disciplined because you know what? I don't like it. I'm getting paid. I'm moving. I'm going somewhere else. I think you're going to just weaken these individuals as far as their self-esteem, as far as their durability, as far as their toughness, mental attitude. I think you really hurt hurt individuals by having these things the way that they are.
I very much agree. You said it best of it being the Wild West. You gotta bring it back in.
You gotta ring it in.
You gotta do something. And I think there should be, if you're on the cover of the NCAA video game, maybe you get $1 million bonus, and that's the goal. Like everybody wants to be on that cover already, and you get the $1 million bonus. Maybe it's a $5 million bonus. I have no idea, but it really creates a hard. It puts schools like Fresno State in between a rock and a hard place
really
for
does.
sure. And it's just unfortunate because Fresno State, maybe you don't get the 5-star recruit, but you get these 3-star recruits. You get those gritty walk-ons. You get those guys that went through the cracks and maybe didn't make grades other places, or maybe they just fell in Fresno State's lap and they turn into great young men that have a love. They develop a love from the Valley. I got half my friends aren't from here. They're from the Bay, LA, Arizona, Texas, and they all stayed or they went somewhere else and came back because this has become home.
Sure.
Well, that didn't just become home off of one good season. It became home because, like we said, we went 1-11 and then 10-4, then 12-2. Because that same team turned shit around.
Right.
And
you grew together.
And I think at the end of the day, what is sports? Sports is about, especially as a young man, sports is about growth. You grow as a young man in sports more than I think anything you could do, in today's American society. Like if you don't play sports, there's plenty of opportunities to be successful, but you learn a lot of lessons, especially in football alone, man.
Without a doubt. And I think when you look at sports, I think military, you look at sports, but think about what sports have done for the country.
Yeah.
50, 60, 70 years ago, blacks, whites, different people didn't get along, didn't know how to integrate. What brought them together? Yeah. Sports. You had diversity. Jackie Robinson, all these different things. People don't understand. You and I might have a different food palette. Hey, you come to my house, I have greens. You might bring me to your house, dude. I might have pasta. Different things that people didn't get to eat or didn't get because you wasn't raised that way.
Yeah.
And that's what I think sports did. You in a locker room, you put down barriers. You start to understand who individuals are. I know. Because there's a lot of kids, man. There's a lot of kids that never hung out with black guys. Black kids haven't hung out with white guys haven't hung out with black guys, and black kids haven't hung out with white. And what does sports do? Now you're forced to be in a place and you're like, man, they're just like me.
Exactly
There's no difference. And
exactly the same.
Yes. I mean, shoot, they're eating fried chicken just like I am.
You kidding me?
But the perception is not reality. And that's why I think that sports, as I digress, but what you were talking about earlier when you were saying you went from 1-4 to 1-11 to 11 to 11-1 and to 12-2. Of course. But you guys started up, but you built. That's cause culture.
Exactly.
You built this as a team and as a group of guys that came together. But you had to go through growing pains.
Yeah.
Now what you're having is now guys are plug and play. There's no loyalty.
I know.
There's no togetherness. There's no bondage. There's no brotherhood. And that's the thing that I think is going to be suffered. That's the thing that's going to be missed. And I think that's what sports was about. That is the basic foundation, and you're losing that.
Amen to that.
Look,
I agree. I very much agree, and especially football.
Yes,
because you know what? There are some of those games out there where and you look at the SEC, look at the Mountain West, whatever you want, any program. Okay, let's be real here. The recruits that we get at Fresno State, they're arguably the same level as UNLV, as Hawaii, as Nevada, you name it. They're pretty much the same level of play. Now there's your unicorns that come in and absolutely ball out. But what makes a team or a program successful? It's the culture. It's the coaching staff, but it's the standard of excellence that needs to continually be upheld, which is winning. And winning isn't just one thing. It's a million little things that are built up brick by brick by brick that accumulate into success. And you can't just do that in 3 weeks.
No.
You can't. It takes time.
Right.
All good things take time.
Right.
And there's going to be darkness before there's light.
Sure.
And we were talking about Alabama. I think Alabama had such success, which I still consider Alabama and Nick Saban the tier of top tier college football. It's the standard.
Right.
It's not because they had better recruits than Georgia.
Culture.
It's the culture. It's the way they did things when no one was looking. It's the standard that was upheld. That's why they continue to win national championships.
Right.
That's why everyone's bitching because Bama's in the championship again. Good. I interviewed a guy, Mac Hereford. He played for Bama. He was one of the wide receivers on all those really good teams. And we talked about that culture. He dove real deep into Nick Saban and the standard of excellence there. It's different, man.
Yeah.
And the player's mindset's different.
Right.
There's so many guys that we see where they're the best player on the team talent-wise, but they don't have the best work ethic. You got some gritty dude. I was the guy trying to take the guy who had, more of the measurables, talent, higher stars, et cetera, spot.
Right.
They got 5-star recruits that are the best in their craft that are also the hardest workers. That's what makes them different.
Sure.
And I think that takes time to, one, say, hey, we're a wide receiver room. Hey, we're a running back room. We're going to be the hardest workers on this team. We're a brotherhood. We're going to compete our ass off in spring ball, fall camp, all that things. But come game week, come Saturday, whoever's in, we want them to eat right now. And you can't just say it. You can't fake it till you make it on that. You really got to believe in that shit in the belly of your soul. And football's an emotional game, man.
Oh, no question.
It's an emotional game.
Right.
Shit, I've cried more on a football field, not because I'm sad. Never because I'm sad. Oh, I lost the game. Just because most of the time, because it's just the boys.
Right.
It's the men. It's the guys you bled with.
Right.
It creates, you get a little gushy inside at the end, man.
No question.
It happens.
And because I tell people all the time, leadership isn't given, it's earned. And that's the thing about what football, leaders are born. And when you watch sports, any sport, when you have that guy, those alpha dogs that are looking and they hold standards, and because the head coach says, "Look, you're my leader, you're my captain." Guess what? He's going to tell those guys, "No, this is the Bulldog way, or this is the Bama way." And so you start to building those leaders. You find and identify who those guys are at a young age. Find who these guys are. Who's the first one in the locker room? Who's the first one in the weight room? Who's the last one to leave? So you start building those culture, and you set a trend. You're like, "Look. Okay, let's go. I'm gonna meet you in the weight room." Those are things that you hold guys accountable. Iron sharpens iron, and those are the things that I love about sport that I try to take into my everyday life.
Yes,
football is like it taught me so many things. Wrestling is in football was unbelievable because football, if a guy missed a block and say, "Man, the quarterback threw interception," or "Boom, we lost because of this." When you wrestle, you think about what people say, "I play professional football. I play professional basketball. I play professional golf." You don't hear people say, I play wrestling. Right. I play boxing. Those are games you can't play because you'll get hurt. That's something about wrestling. So it taught me that one-on-one, that competitive, that one-on-one that it helped me even with my football because it was like, look, I'm not looking to blame anyone. I know what I have to do to hold up my end of the standard. So that's what football is about, man. It builds character, but it also lets you say, let me do my job. Right. If you do your job, if we all do our job, we're usually going to win. And that's the character, and that's the thing that football, the lessons that sports, team sports build, that just can't be duplicated.
No, it can't. You mentioned, doing your job, and I think you being a fullback, one of the best of all time, if not the best. I'll say the best because you're on Bring the Juice right now. Fuck yeah, baby. Come on now. Get this man a jacket.
Let it have it.
What? How is the mindset of being the fullback? I talk to O-linemen. O-linemen rarely get credit. Yeah. Right? Rarely get credit. Usually don't even know who the hell a good left guard is or a good left center is. You don't know who the fuck any O-lineman is. Because if you do, that means their name was called because of a penalty, and you don't want his ass in there, right?
Right.
They quietly have, this guy was an 8-time Pro Bowler.
Right.
You're like, what the fuck's that guy? Shit, he must be pretty good. I don't know who he is.
Right.
But a fullback, you're not necessarily in it for the glory. It's a lot of gritty, dirty, just work.
Grunt work.
Just grunt work. Let's get it in, baby. Fuck it. Let's go.
Right.
Tell me the mindset of a fullback.
Well, it's interesting. Offensive lineman, defensive lineman. I always talk about the story of Paul Revere. You remember, listen, my 8th grade, 7th grade, they used to tell you listen, my children, and you should hear of the midnight ride of Paul Revere. It was the 17th of April, 75. Hardly a man is now alive who remembers that famous day and year. He said to his friends, as the British shall march by land or by sea from town to night, one if by land, two if by sea, on the opposite shore will be ready to ride and spread the word. You remember that? You didn't know I knew that.
Okay, Lo.
I'll give you a little history too.
Yeah.
And now we know Paul Revere got captured and all. But anyways, if he didn't have the horse to lead him to be able to tell him that the British is coming, they don't get warned. So that's the horses up front that don't get the credit to make sure that Ladainian Tomlinson's, the Derrick Henrys, to be able to get the yards, those things, those are the linemen that's letting them know, hey, look, I'm going to create that opportunity for you to put your name in the lights.
Right.
So that's how I look at offensive linemen. You know, with the fullback position, I like to think of, I'll tell you a little story. You're going to like this one.
I'm excited.
Because I remember being in grade school, and we had show and tell. And I remember Mr. Cole, he said, bring your favorite fruit or vegetable in, and we'll get you guys to have to tell stories about it. So people brought in strawberries and bananas, and they were talking about different blueberries and talking about oranges and talking apples. And they brought in their fruits and vegetables, and we're talking about. My grandma said, son, I want you to bring in an onion. I knew you was going to like
Come on now.
Yeah. So that onion, you know what? And it was put in the bag, and I brought it out. Everyone started laughing, and they were laughing about the onion because my grandma, but she already had a story. And I was like, and they talked about, you know, strawberries. They're so succulent, and the juice and the cherries, how they look. And my story is about an onion. The story was, you know what? Here's an onion. You know, everyone, it makes you cry. People talk, they don't want that onion. But when you want that good soup, you call on that onion. When you want a good burger, you call on that onion. When you want that good flavor, you call on that onion. It's the most disrespected vegetable in the group. But guess what? When you want that good hamburger, you want an onion. That's what the fullback position is. When you want to get downhill, when you want to get nasty, when you want to bring the juice, you better call on that onion. You better bring on that fullback. And we said, let's lead. Let's go 50 power roll. Let's run lead draw.
Yeah.
You better call on that fullback and let's get downhill and let's go make them apologize. That's what I looked at the fullback. So fullback position is like that onion. You disrespected, but you want to get downhill. When you want 4 yards in a cloud of dust and you want to run a lead and go right out, you call on that fullback. So you let me know. You telling me what is a fullback position? We're the onion, baby. When you want to run that ball and you want to get ugly, you call that in. That's the mindset of a fullback, brother. You got to say, and no one wants it. It's not pretty, but I'm telling you, we're valuable. And that's what I loved about that fullback position. And that's why I played it so hard, because I felt like that onion.
God, I love
disrespected.
that. God, I love that.
I know you love onion,
Fires
baby.
me up.
You like
Fires
that,
me
huh?
up. God, I love that shit. So the fullback position in today's day and age
It's dying.
is dying.
Yeah. Cal
There's some good.
Yeah, Hugh's out there with the Niners. Love that. Good personal friend. But it's like,
Hey, he rocks the juice hats from
he
time to time.
rocks it. Juice is my guy.
He's got the juice hats.
Oh, man.
He rocks them.
Let's hook him up.
I've said he rocks them pregame sometimes.
Juice is the
I told
best.
Juice I'm getting you on the pod. He goes, all right, we'll get it in.
He'll do.
Harvard
do.
man.
Oh yes,
Harvard
very very intelligent individual.
I love that.
He's a smart guy too.
Yeah.
But it's so interesting that when you look at the Niners, and that's why I always pull for him. But when you have, and now Harbaugh's going to probably bring the fullback back to the Chargers. When you think about game, if the game has changed, it's more finesse. You want to throw the ball, go 4 wides, and do all this stuff. But if you can run the ball and you can put your will, it makes teams quit.
Yeah.
A good running team get downhill and do those things. But the fullback position been so diluted because guys aren't tough anymore. They don't want to be physical, so they don't want to bring the fullback back. So it's unfortunate that it's a dying position.
Yeah.
They're very disappointed about that.
I was gonna say it's disappointing.
It really is.
I know in your time of playing in the league, was there a particular team or back that you enjoyed that set up itself apart from everybody else?
Well, you know what? I was so blessed, man, and fortunate. If you think about the guys that are able to block for, Cory Dillion. Right. People don't talk about it. Cory Dillion, that dude from Cincinnati. Cory Dillion was so amazing. And then I had Eddie George from the Ohio State. What Eddie George, tough, 6'3", ran downhill, friggin' tough, physical type of guy. You know, I was able to block for some amazing backs. Ladainian Tomlinson. I mean, this guy's lightning in the bottle. LT was absolutely amazing. If he was even, he was leaving. He was lightning in the bottle. I mean, it was just amazing watching this guy play. I remember, you know, we were playing against Denver, and he broke the single season record for touchdowns, 29 touchdowns, and broke him. That's a lot of touchdowns.
That's a lot of touchdowns. In high school, that's a lot of touchdowns.
Dude, he was killing it. I remember we were playing against Denver, and we ran 70 toss. That's a 70 toss. So, you know, the toss crack where they come in, they crack down. I'm leading out, so I'm going to pull out for him. I told LT, I said, get on my hip and don't dip. So we're 2 yards out. We know he's getting ready to break the record. And this is how amazing he is. I'm like, LT, let's roll. The ball snapped. It's a sweep. I jump out, take off. I see the safety. I'm getting ready to smack him. How about I'm tripping? I'm going down. It's like slow motion. The safety's there. The corner's outside. I'm falling down. I'm like, oh my God, LT, this is a break the record. He's going to get in a touchdown. I'm falling down. I fall. And I just keep my head in the dirt because I think I'm getting ready to hear the crowd boo or whatever. How about 2 guys right there? LT makes 3 guys miss, gets in a touchdown. I just point at him like, go ahead, you're so good. I mean, you got to look that play up. I'm serious. I fall down when he broke the single season record touchdown.
Damn.
I fall on the ground. He makes 3 guys miss and still get in the end zone. LT was pretty amazing.
Damn.
Yeah.
That's something.
Yeah.
I feel like when you think about sports duos, right? Yeah. Everyone always is talking quarterback, wide receiver. Yeah. I feel like catcher and pitcher, maybe. I know I'm missing some right now. Whatever. Anyways.
Yeah, right. It's all good.
I feel like running back, fullback's a slept on little duo.
Oh, no question.
Like your guys' relationship.
Moose Johnson, Emmitt Smith.
Yeah.
When you think about, the different guys that played fullback position and think about Corey Schlesinger, Barry Sanders. When you think about different guys that played Tom Rathman and, friggin' number 33, Roger Craig. When you think about fullback duos, I remember Sean Alexander and Matt Strum that played together in Seattle. There were so many fullback duos that you're absolutely right. Sam Gash and those guys that I'm watching, these guys how they used to play, Larry Centers, unbelievable fullback. There's a lot of great fullback and running back tandems like you're saying. It totally should be those duels, but I had so much fun.
I was saying that sounds just fun.
Yeah, God,
that gotta be fun.
And we wanted to be the best. I mean, Priest Holmes and Tony Richardson in Kansas City. So it was like me and LT was like, dude, we're gonna be the best duel. So it was always challenging but fun, rewarding, and it's sad now because I don't see fullback, tailback duels. Yeah. I mean, of course, McCaffrey and Juice
seem like they got a cool dynamic.
Oh, they're unbelievable. They're the best at it. So it's just, I used to love those duels.
That's so badass.
Yeah.
I love that shit.
Yeah.
Having the opportunity to, when LT got inducted, have the opportunity to be there and have the role you had on that.
I was so honored, because
did you get presented the opportunity?
Yes, he said, hey, he could have had Marty, he could have had Drew Brees, Antonio Gates, Phillip Rivers. I mean, there were so many people that he could have had do it, offensive line, but he chose me.
Wow.
And I was so honored to be able to have this guy have me induct him to the Hall of Fame. That moment was so surreal for me to be able to present him the jacket. That was that moment that you're like, wow, I'm up here with arguably one of the greatest running backs, top 5 running backs that ever played in the National Football League. And he chose me. So it was a humbling experience. It was unreal.
When are you going to get your jacket?
I know. He's been pushing. There's a lot of people who've been pushing. I think that there's some guys in the Hall of Fame. I look at, with me, it's very simple. When I look at a guy like Larry Centers, you got to go look him up. This guy caught 100 passes, 100 balls as a fullback. Unbelievable.
Wow. He
should be in. There's another guy that I think if you talk about Moose, look at Moose, what he did for Emmitt Smith. I think that you look at who's the best. If you said, hey, who's the best running fullback that you've seen? It should be Mike Alstott. When you think about the A-Train.
Dog.
He's a dog. I mean, we had a backfield when I played in Tampa.
I saw a clip of you guys. That shit was fucking crazy.
That was the Rhino. It's called Rhino backfield.
Okay, tell me this. There's this clip of you been hit back. You guys were in Tampa, right?
Tampa. Did you see us killing people?
Fucking crazy.
Murdering.
Tell me that backfield. Tell me how that went.
It was 560 pounds coming at you. Mike was 260. I'm 250, and you're talking about Dorner, 600 pounds coming at you.
Yeah.
Guys would get out of the way. We played that Minnesota. They only lost.
It's called a Rhino?
Rhino backfield. Because we had 2 rhinos back there. We would just try to break guys' neck and just say, try to tackle us if you can. And when me and Warrick Dunn was in the backfield together, it was called Pony. Smaller. So, but it was, man, I was just in Tampa this weekend with Mike Alstott at his golf tournament. And, dude, we just watched those clips and watched those moments. We just absolutely adored it. It was so much fun.
It looked fun.
That backfield was deadly.
God. Well, I mean, when you get your jacket, do you think it's just fullbacks in general? You think it's just I don't want to call it disrespectful. It's not as shiny as certain other things.
It's disrespectful because let's be honest, the NFL does a horrible job.
Yeah,
they do a horrible job because if you're not a receiver a running back,
gotta be shiny,
or a quarterback, shiny. They don't. You like you said, you don't really get it for offensive guards, centers, and it's horrible. They don't recognize that position, and it's terrible that you don't. Though it really is.
I think it's disrespectful as shit.
No question.
You mentioned LT being a top 5 back. Who's your top 5 backs all time?
Oh, he's got to be. Barry Sanders, what he was able to do, just he could cut on a dime, leave 10 cents change. I mean, but if you think LT was a better pass catcher out of the backfield, Ladainian could catch the ball better, and LT had some. So I look at Barry Sanders. Barry was pretty amazing, but he lost a lot of yards too. If you said, hey, if Barry Sanders is most electrifying running back, I think that LT, put him anywhere you want. I think if you had, I look at Marshall Faulk, you look at guys like, Adrian Peterson, you think about Jim Brown, what he brought in to the table. I think Earl Campbell, there were some bad guys, but LT's definitely, I would say he's my top 3. Yeah. Top 3.
I mean, no one's going to argue that.
The dude he was amazing. He was amazing. What he could do, catching the ball and running the ball, going over the top, the leaping ability, he was amazing.
As an athlete through all this, adversity continues to strike, always does, in some way, shape, or form. What was your initial response when adversity would strike?
I used to say, tough times don't laugh, tough people do. You just got to be able to bounce back. My dad used to say, son, if you're flat on your back, if you can look up, you can get up. Yeah, you know what? I would always, even times when I wasn't having success and doubting, because even athletes, you doubt sometimes. You have that moment where you're just like, what's going on? Yeah. And you just like, you're like, come on. And I would look at myself in the mirror and I say, if it is to be, it's up to me. You look every morning, you get up and say, if it is to be, it's up to me. And there are so many coaches that gave me little lines that I just remember, and I would have I can vividly remember the lines. And the will to win means nothing without the will to prepare. And those little things that when those moments, man, the will to win means nothing without the will to prepare. I know that I prepared. I have the will to win, but I prepared. So I got to have success. Right. Working will, wishing won't. I know that I've been working. I'm not wishing because I've been working. Mm-hmm. Those little moments, a setback is nothing but a setup for a comeback. Mm-hmm. So you have to vividly imagine success. So that's when I would go through those funks or when I've had those setbacks in my life, it's about how do you get up and answer the bell? It's like, okay, I have to go back. You start peeling back. Where am I going wrong? How do I accomplish the things that I want to accomplish? That's in life. That's in sports. That's in the workforce. You got to have that determination because guess what? No one can help you. No. You can't go out there on an island playing quarterback or playing cornerback or playing receiver and say, okay, someone run this route. Oh, I'm playing corner. Oh my goodness, help me. Somebody safety come. No, you got to make it happen. Yep. You got to go will it to happen. You have to pull, and that's the part where it's got to come from the heart and it's got to be in the mind. Right. You have to be able to will it to happen.
I know, Josh Okett?
Yeah.
One of my good buddies. I actually texted him before this saying you're coming on the pod, asked if you had any questions for you. We'll get to that. But we always had, you said iron sharpens iron today too. And I could tell his wrestling mindset when I was in the locker room with him affected me a certain way. And I did individual sports as well as team sports, and they are different. They're for sure different because in football, as you mentioned, there's opportunities where you could point the finger. Sure. There's he said, she said, or, quarterback threw the ball wrong. Well, maybe the receiver ran the wrong route. Maybe the O-line had the wrong protection. Running back didn't pick it up. There's all kinds of BS that you could say. At the end of the day, in a sport like wrestling, if you lose, it's your ass. It's no one else's ass. It's not your coach's ass. It is your ass at the end of the day. And it creates a certain type of mindset where you take more, I think you take more accountability for your personal assignment in sports. And I've always been a do your job type of guy. Do your job, control the controllables. I can't make my running back score a touchdown, but I could get my block. Right. Even if it's backside, I can make sure my guy doesn't score a touchdown. Right. If I could do my 1/11th on the football field and I did my job and everyone else does their job, well, now we're a well-oiled machine. We should be kicking everyone's ass, right? Obviously, that's somebody's going to have to give on one side of the ball. There's no such thing as a perfect play on offense and a perfect play on defense. It just isn't a thing. Someone's going to win the play. Right. But speaking from the wrestling standpoint, how did wrestling affect your overall athletic career? That mindset. And this isn't just wrestling. I know you had great success in high school, but you wrestled at a high level, the highest level. Being a two-sport athlete, being the guy who had the NFL career and the wrestling career you had, how did they vibe off each other? How did they become one?
I think that what it does is when you know that when you're wrestling, you know that it's just you. The amount of conditioning that you have it doesn't even compare. Football is a drop in the bucket.
Yeah.
Because guys, I knew that you're not going to be stronger than me, Dornier. You're not going to be quicker than me. The only way you're going to beat me in wrestling is endurance.
Yeah.
So wrestling, man, it's just that mindset to be like, I got to be in better shape.
Mm-hmm.
I got to have, and you got to have that desire, because everyone, like you alluded to earlier, everyone has a breaking point.
Hell yeah.
Everyone, and you shoot a double leg and the guy comes with that cross face and you're holding that leg. Do you turn the corner? Do you find a way? Do you squeeze it? Do you turn the corner and put your head in there and grit it and says, I don't care about this cross face. I'm not letting this go. I'm a block in like a bulldog and I'm going to die. You are not going to escape. I've got this leg. It's too hard to get this position again. I'm going to take you down. I'm going to stand up with you on the mat. I'm going to pick you up. I'm going to drop you on your friggin' head and I'm going to take you down because I'm in here now.
We're going to the
and
deep
I can't
end.
go home.
Deep end of the pool.
Deep end. That's how I played football. So, and then how did it translate to the football field? Mm-hmm. When I go and when I was playing against Ray Lewis and I'm playing on other teams and playing against these Patrick Willis and going against these linebackers. And when I told Coach, Coach Cameron, offensive coordinator, said, what would you play you want to run today, Lo? I said, let's run lead. Right at Ray Lewis. Lead draw. ISO. 42 lead.
Yeah.
Because I knew he's going to have to make a decision. I told my guard, you guys step back. Boom. The hole's going to open up because you make it set look like pass. And he's dropping back. And then he sees me coming. I'm coming. And he's got to come fill that hole. I'm going to make you make a decision. Do I really want to do this?
Yeah.
And I would go hard. And I'm short. So I'm low. And I'm dip. And I'm trying to hit you right underneath your chin. Mm-hmm. And then guess what? 2 plays later, I'm saying, Coach, if we got picked 5-6 yards, I said, Coach, let's run it again. I mean, and guess what? Now he's got to make a decision. Do I want to come in here? And then I knew second half, okay, what are you going to do?
He's coming
trying to cut me? Is he going to cut me? Is he trying to wrong shoulder? They're getting out of the way. They're giving it up. Or you know what? What am I doing? Am I quitting? Am I turning it down? Mm-hmm. That's what football is. So I think wrestling it made me say, who's going to quit?
Right.
Everyone's got a breaking point.
Yeah.
And that's usually not going to be me.
Right.
That's what wrestling did for me. It's like, no, I'm going to impose my will on you on this football field. That's why when you watch the way that I played football, I'm downhill. I ran a track. I'm not deviating. I'm not moving. I'm running right at you. You're either going to get out of the way. You better try to olay me because I'm a bull in a china shop.
Yeah.
That's how I played the game. That's why I was able to play so long, because I'm going to deliver the blow.
Yeah.
That's what wrestling did for me. It made me say, you got to stay aggressive. You got to stay your course, because it's tough. It's tough. Somebody's going to quit. And it usually wasn't going to be me.
Fire me up, Lo. Let's go, baby. Love that shit. So you think you would take Josh if you were in your prime of wrestling and playing football at Fresno State and he was in his prime? You guys had a wrestling match.
I think Josh would probably say he would win, but he knows in his heart of hearts. In his heart of hearts,
he knows.
He you know what he would say? No, because I would come to Fresno and he's like, "You want to wrestle?" Well, Coach Skipper, me and him would always. He's like, "Come on, Lo," and he probably would have got me then, because the guy was. I mean, he was a college wrestler. Yeah. I'm out of shape, and I know I'm realist.
Yeah.
For the first round or so, I could probably I'd hang with him.
Right.
And I'll probably be winning. I'd probably be winning.
Right.
And then second or third round, he would win because he would wear me out because endurance. But if we're in our prime, he's in our prime in college, and I remember,
he's primes, both primes.
He's got a better chance of scratching in lines and outs in a telephone booth than beating me.
Let's go, Hogan.
Let's go, baby. Hogan, you know it, baby. Come on. That's my guy. But I love him, by the way.
Oh, my God.
He's so tough. And, dude, every year he's on the 49ers training camp, and you just see that dude balling.
Love him.
He's
love
physical,
him,
tough.
man.
Oh, he's tough.
You think, so I know you had your decorative football career, but in today's day and age of like the UFC and MMA, was there ever a world where you would have went that path?
Yeah, for one, I couldn't play in the NFL today because I led with my head.
Uh-huh.
I couldn't play, and I would be out of the league because I'd be fine. This is how I made my money, with my head, my neck, my traps. I did traps and neck, no-nos, yes-yeses every single day. my neck was my head was you can't leave with your head anymore. So I couldn't play. UFC, without a doubt. Chuck Liddell, man, you got to read his book.
I interviewed him. He was on the Bring the Juice.
So Chuck, you got to read his. So Chuck, he's working out the graduate, and I'm in college. I told Chuck, you need to get in this fighting. I've told Chuck
You told Chuck Liddell he needs to start fighting?
Absolutely, 1,000.
Shit,
Chucky's my guy, and then
Chucky's my guy.
And so where he's at the graduate, he's bouncing.
Yeah,
and I'm like, I come in, I'm on a heater.
Yeah,
and Chucky's at the graduate, bouncing over in the bay. I mean,
Yeah.
So they're like, I said, where's Chuck? I'm looking for Chuck. Everyone's like, oh, Chuck, this guy's a big boy. They clear the crowd, moves out. Right? Chuck jumps over the bar. We run at each other. Everyone thinks we're gonna fight. We just hug. Everyone's like, yeah. And so you got it. It's in his book too. So there's so many great moments, man. So I think I would have been.
You got Chuck Liddell to wrestle. You said like, hey, I gotta start. You gotta start doing this UFC shit.
Yes. I said, Chuck, you can do this. As I'm telling you, man, you can make a good living, dude. You're tough. He's physical. And wrestlers dominate.
They dominate.
And so now it's a lot different, of course, because the game's evolved. It was crazy. So there's so many moments, man, that in sports that like we're sitting here today because of what I've done and some of the things you're doing. And it's like to be able to have those moments that you say, God, what are some of the moments do you remember? I remember Phillip Rivers getting drafted, It's another moment that I remember. Phillip was getting drafted to the Chargers, and Drew Brees is the quarterback at the time. They draft Phillip, first overall pick, top 3. Him and Manning, they do the switch of the jerseys, and the Chargers take him, and they want to move Brees. Brees is a starter. We're playing against Chicago. Brees is holding him off. This is week like 3 or 4, and we're losing to Chicago. And A.J. Smith, the GM, he tells Marty, go with the kid. Marty doesn't want to. Marty loves Drew. He wants to keep Drew. He comes up to Marty, and Marty goes up to Drew and says, hey, AJ wants to go with the kids. Going to give you a couple more series. I hear Drew, and so I hear Marty tell it to him. So I go up to Drew. I said, man, just lead. I said, stop looking over your shoulder. Freaking go. We believe. It takes enough. Let's go. We got this. We believe in you. He goes out. We beat Chicago. We win that game. I think we go 11-4. We make the playoff. He tears his shoulder up against Denver. So at the end of the season, he goes to the Saints. But he holds Phillip on the bench. He's a first-round pick, first pick in the draft, holds him on the bench the whole year. And 8-10 years later, Drew writes his book. And they were asking Drew, what's one of your defining moments? And he writes about that moment in the book.
Shit.
Yeah.
God.
Isn't that,
that's awesome.
And so you just never know, bro, the people that you influence. You never know what the words that you say to individuals. You can give life or you can give death. The tongue is so powerful. So many times you're in a situation, you're in the business, the onion business, you see your workers, you got people, and sometimes you're freaking grinding, you're doing all these things, you're trying to keep people to understand what's on your mind, you're going through, and all of a sudden someone says something, and it's like, God, you can just give life or you can give death. And it's so freaking hard because people don't understand the things that you're wrestling with. And it's so, but you just never know who's watching, who's listening. And you just don't know the situation and the things that they're going through. So I choose life, man. Yeah. And it's tough, but I choose life.
Damn. I love that.
I usually charge for this. I'm giving it to you for free.
Get out of here. Get out of here.
Just bring it, baby.
Come on now. Come on now. Lo, since you finished ball and you're now, you're in your different ventures of life. I know you're golfing. I know you're a businessman. Like, what's the biggest principle from your sports career that you've applied to your day-to-day now to continue to chase greatness and be the best version of yourself you could possibly be in every way, shape, and form?
It's so hard. I remember getting out of the league and playing in the league, and my buddy wanted to do a restaurant. Okay, cool. Yeah. $1 million later, done. Right. And you start this and you're chasing. And the thing about with football, I'm having a bad day. A guy was talking junk to me. Guess what? I can put on football pads and we can go settle this.
All right.
Practice. You can figure it out. Football.
There's a way.
It's a way because that okay, someone's talking junk, you can get it. I got it at football, and you get in the business world. And now you're around sharks, liars. You can't just go beat them up. You can't just go put on pads. So I'm gonna go challenge. Right. And you just see how football is pure.
It is.
It's you and another guy. It's you and get in your team. But The results, if you play and you put your work in, you can have good results. Business, you got to take that same. So the fundamentals, the physical part is done. But the fundamental parts of saying, okay, I got to sharpen my toolbox. I got to learn business. I got to know what the ROI is. I got to see what is my gross multiplier when I'm doing real estate. Okay, is this a 2 cap, a 3 cap? How do I buy real estate? How do I speculate this? How do I find out where I won't get beat again? How do I look at the restaurants, look at the mes and the plaza and say, okay, what's this? What's, what are they paying? What's the, what's the TIs? What's the tenant improvements? What's those different things that I'm getting? Being able to go through those processes and coming up with hard concrete numbers, and then asking people that are smarter than you, that's had success in it, what to do. That's the principle. That's the practical principles that football's got, saying, how do I get in the weight room and I outwork you? How do I go in here and do this rep after rep? You understand, going over this and doing it. This is what you have to take, the same principle, and take it to the workforce, because people are going to take advantage of it. They're going to try to get over you. You have to be prepared. And so that's, I think, the football mentality for success that I bring. And even when you lose and you get pissed off, you got to vow not to lose again. You got to say, I got to do better in my strategic planning, my strategic forecast, to make sure that these things don't happen. So I think that grit, that determination of getting back up, fighting, holding your hands up, and keep grinding, that's the part that's helped me in the business world.
I think it is, and I preach this to the guys I played with that are either bouncing in and out of the league right now, or maybe they're done with football and now they're trying to find their path, find their speed, find their rhythm, find what fits them. It's really hard when you first are done playing ball, because you kind of have this, I don't want to call it a true identity crisis, but you're so used to your routine. You're so used to what's the one thing that's on your mind? I need to be a great fucking football player. That's the only thing you have on your mind. That's mentally, physically, spiritually, emotionally, getting my body right, having some sort of a competitive advantage. Because as you go from 8th grade to JV to high school to college to the pros, the difference in the margin for success and failure, it gets more razor thin, right? Everybody, if you're in the NFL, you're clearly if you play Division I, you're a good football player. If you're a starter in the Valley in high school football, you're probably an athlete of some sort, right? There's very few guys that, just get thrown in there. There's a good enough competition level here. But you have to keep finding that competitive edge, that what am I going to do to separate myself from the pack? Podcast, great example. We talked about this earlier too. Everybody wants to start a podcast. Everybody wants to start a business. Everybody wants to recreate the wheel or do some shit where they're going to hit, right? And my first thing I always say, don't care what the circumstance is. This stays true to anything. How are you going to separate yourself from the competition? Because there's a lot of people out there, I think, that have great ideas. But that work ethic you could get in sports, especially at a high level, it is different. It does wire you differently. Like you said, when we're going into the hole, somebody's going to have to give. It's the same shit, man. So somebody's going to give eventually in things, and it's not going to be me. Right. I'm not going to tap. Right. I've seen podcasts start, podcasts go. I've seen onion farmers start up. Guys who didn't grow onions, they think they're onion farmers. They fail in a year because it was too hard for them, right? Everything's hard. It's hard to work your ass off every day and be successful. It's hard to not do shit all day and make ends meet. Pick your hard. It's relevant in any stage of life, I think.
No question. I think that when you're talking about that identity crisis, we all have it. And because it's like your whole life, when you think about football, and that's why I talk to a lot of people in the military. Yeah. You're taught what time to be at practice, what time you be in a class, how those things go. You get into pros. It's like 8 o'clock, that 7 o'clock you have to lift. 8 o'clock is breakfast. 8:30 you got special teams meeting.
Structure.
9 o'clock is a team meeting. It's structure. Walk through it this time. We're at practice. You're done. You got meetings afterwards. You're done at 5 or 6 o'clock every single day when you're in the pros. You have structure. Then on Saturday, you know what time you're flying out, you have what time to walk through, when you're getting on the plane. Yep. So it is structured. The military, you're someone in that base. You get to go in the commissary. You're the military, petty officer, chief. On that base, you're admiral, all that stuff. And it's not the crash to kill you. And that's what I tell people. Once they take that jersey, who are you? In the back of the jersey, I played all these teams. Back of the jersey, it always said Neal on the front, whatever team that I played on. One day they take that jersey from me, and who are you? All you have is your name. And that's what a lot of people, they don't understand. When you leave that game and you leave the military, when you were admiral or captain, all of a sudden now you get in the real world. And no one comes. You don't get to the front of the line. You don't get to go to the commissary. When you're in a military base, you get to go to the hospital and be at the front of the line. Football. Think about it. You're in college. You get a doctor.
Anything.
Boom, they get you. They take care of you.
Anything.
It doesn't happen in the real world.
I know.
And that's that reality. It's not the crash to kill you. It's the sudden stop. And those are those things, those moments that guys aren't prepared for, because it doesn't prepare you, because you're not prepared for this roller coaster to stop. Yeah. And when it does, because I think about it, you're a grown man playing a kid's game, getting a king's ransom. And when it stops, man, it's really hard for a lot of people, because they go through this when you're 30, 34, 40, whatever, or 28, 27, and all of a sudden it's over. You're still a young man at 26, 27. You played 4 or 5 years in the league.
Shit, at 40, you're a young man.
Yes. And it's like, now what's next? So those are those moments. That's why guys have to be able to diversify and understand, hey, look, I have to make sure opportunity, and I tell people all the time, opportunity is never lost. It's just given to someone else. You have to take advantage of the opportunities when you're in ball, you keep that Rolodex. You keep grabbing numbers. You keep doing those things. You keep doing internships when you're in the summertime. You do those things when you're off season. You start getting and learning your craft, being able to build, get in corporate America, start finding out, making that transition in those off season. You don't got, I got to work out. I get it. But go spend 3 hours a day in a real estate office if you want to be a broker. Do those things that you need. Go learn franchises if this is what you want to do. And a lot of guys don't take advantage of that. Right. They so get caught up in their sport and what they're doing that they forget. They're so nearsighted, and it's unfortunate.
It is. I think you said a great thing too as well. And I think you're in such a unique window of opportunity where Fresno State's a great example. If you played at Fresno State and you are a year, 2, 3 out, and you go into a business, let's say you got a degree in ag business like I did, right? You don't know what you want to do with your life. You walk in there, you tuck your shirt in. This is a Fresno example. You tuck your shirt in. You got your resume. You type something up. You played football the last 4 or 5 years. You don't know what the fuck you're doing. Maybe you did an internship. Maybe you didn't. You go shake a guy firmly, look him in the eye and say, sir, my name is so-and-so. I played football for the Fresno State Bulldogs. I have a degree in this. I want to help your team win. I will show up on time. I will give extreme effort, and I will be coachable. What, 9 out of 10 times you're getting a job?
Yep.
Every time. Yep. Not saying you're only getting that because of you being a Fresno State football player, but
it helps.
I know damn well a lot of business owners that understand if you play at a certain level, you have this accountability tier. You know how to show up somewhere on time. Otherwise, you get kicked off the football team. That's like day one type shit, right?
Right.
You know that in order for a team to win, a company to be successful, we have to work together on things.
No question.
I can't be just a me guy. And if you're coming to me, that means you're somewhat hungry, right? You're hungry because you took the effort to drive to my location. I'm sure you're a little nervous. I'm sure this is out of your comfort zone.
Sure.
You probably don't wear this every day. You're used to wearing, Nike shit, whatever it is.
Right.
It's a leap of faith. That's after the fact. If you're still in it, it's so valuable. You get into different doors that you can't get into down the line. Nobody wants to talk about the guy who did things 10 years ago. There's a window. You become old news real quick.
You do.
You got to strike while the iron's hot.
Yes.
And it sucks because right now, if you're playing for the Arizona Cardinals, all you're thinking about is playing for the Arizona Cardinals. But you're exactly right. Exactly fucking right. Shake hands, kiss babies. Go to that charity dinner. Go get that business card. Get that guy's number. Text him every once in a while. Invite him to. You had extra tickets, nobody's using it. Invite him to a game.
Yep.
Those little things go so far. For me personally, I've made some great connections, both for personal, for Bring the Juice, and for other business ventures that have started off with a simple handshake and being friendly and calm in nature of, hey, you played ball so-and-so. Mutual respect, right? Do you care if you played football at Fresno State and we're at an airport Applebee's and we got a guy next to us who played football at San Diego State? You could talk for 5 hours.
Yep.
You could talk ball, guys you played with, guys you played in the league, guys who coached. It's a community, and you got a mutual. I at least, I don't know if you think like this. To a certain degree, there's a mutual respect of this guy went through fall camp. This guy went through double days. He must be an all right guy.
Yep.
He's gritty enough to sit in the chair next to me. And it might be, don't judge the book by its cover, but I know if you went through that, you got some sort of shits to you. You somewhat
no question
are like-minded to me, right? But that business aspect's totally different, and not to dive too much deeper in to the NIL side of things and whatnot, but it does start in college now. It's not just once you get to the league, you get paid a big paycheck, and now you can start investing in things. Shake hands and kiss babies while you're in college. Go to those dinners with the local business owners. You don't know who might be your next boss. Or maybe you have a business venture that you need to get in touch with the right person, and that person knows the right person. You're always one person away from the guy you need to know.
Yeah.
Always are. And that doesn't mean become some kiss ass who, is sucking everybody off or any shit like that.
I get it.
But there's nothing wrong with being nice and respectful to everybody. And just make that who you are.
And guys just don't get it. And that's the message that that you're at a young guy and you know so many of these players. That's a spot that with the juice that you bring is where you start a program where you're reaching out to these guys.
I want to.
You reach out to these guys and say, "Hey, I need you to do this," and if I was younger, I would be in it because I would go to all these different teams and say, "I'm going to help your players." And you start reaching out all the different things in the community, and you start going out in this community. You start building. Here's all these events. What do you want to be at? This is what this charity's doing. Now you got these top tier players that can go show up in this thing, and you tell them you dress nice, you go present, you have your cards, you do this stuff. You start meeting these people, and you start having that sphere of influence with them. Katie bar the door. You are setting yourself up for the future, and guys just don't get it. But that's why these coaches are, and that's the thing. These football coaches are very narrow-minded too. Yeah, they're very into, it's about them. It's about winning right now, and they don't understand. They're so far nearsighted that they can't see it. They can't see the forest.
There's levels to this shit.
Sure.
There's levels to this shit.
It did, no question.
Well, this has been great.
Oh, it's been awesome, man. We got to do it again.
We got to do it again. I appreciate you. Be sure to subscribe, unsubscribe, resubscribe, buy the merch. You going to the spring game?
Yes.
Okay.
Next week.
I'll be there. I got a little tailgate. I got.
There we go. There we go.
We'll something.
I'll come out. We'll come out.
Come
pull
check
up.
it.
Pull up.
But Lo, real quick before we finish, talk to me about your radio show ventures, your podcast ventures.
Yeah, I'm on the Believe.
Got to plug it.
I'm on the Believe Network. It charges me and Money Smith. Matt Money Smith. So we do the Believe in It Chargers Network. We're on all the Valley stations. And then I work with 95.7 The Game. I do a football show that's during the season for the 49ers. A lot of fun. And KPIX, I do some TV. So I was able to go to Super Bowl this year. I had a lot of fun. So I do radio and TV. I really enjoy it. Do some podcasts. And it's awesome to be able to talk sports. And, I'm the jack of all trades, the master of none.
I get it.
The more you can do.
Renaissance, man.
Let's do
that shit. Lorenzo Neal, everybody. Fire me up, get your piss hot. We'll see you next week. And Army of Grit, we got some new merch coming soon, so be on the lookout.